Hi, my name is Chloe, and I'm 30 years old. I've lived in this small town my entire life, and I've always believed that life is about self-reliance. People come and go, but you can't rely on anyone to stay, especially not after everything I've been through. I work as a librarian at our town's little public library, a place I grew up in, a place that feels like home. It's quiet, peaceful, and I keep to myself, mostly because it's easier that way. Growing up in a small town like this, people tend to think they know everything about you. The post office ladies, the shopkeepers, the teachers, they all know your name, your history, your family. And I used to think I was just like them, content with a predictable, quiet life. But the truth was, I wasn't. I had learned to smile and nod and say hi to everyone I passed. I had learned how to blend in, how to keep myself busy with work and tasks and routines, anything to distract myself from the quiet ache in my chest. But it was always there, an unspoken longing for something more, something real. I used to believe in love. I really did. When I was younger, I would dream about all the things I would do when I found that one person. I'd been told that love would be a fairy tale, a connection so deep, so powerful, that nothing could tear it apart. But then life happened. I fell in love with Jake. He was kind and funny, and he made me feel like I could be the best version of myself. We met when I was 18, in my first year of college. He was older, confident, and seemed like everything I had ever dreamed of. We spent the next 4 years together, building a life, making plans, convincing ourselves we were a perfect match. We talked about everything, about marriage, a house, kids, the future we'd share. But none of it was real. At least, not for Jake. I'll never forget the day he left. I was sitting on the porch, my heart racing with anticipation. He had promised he'd be back in a few days from his trip to visit his parents in another state. I had just started making dinner when he came back early, looking distant, as if the air around him was thick with hesitation. I stood up from the stove, asking him how his trip went, and he hesitated. He looked at me with sad eyes and took a deep breath before speaking. "Chloe, I think I need to be honest with you," he said, his voice shaking slightly. "I'm not sure I'm ready for all of this. The life we've built, the plans we've made. I think I need some space." "Space?" I repeated, my heart sinking. "What are you talking about, Jake?" He swallowed hard, looking down at his feet. "I'm not in the right place for this anymore. I've changed, and I'm sorry, but I don't think I can be the person you need." The words hit me like a physical blow. Not ready. Not in the right place. It didn't make sense. We had been talking about marriage just weeks before. I had pictured a future with him. A future filled with love and promise. But Jake had changed. Or maybe he had never been the person I thought he was. He picked up his bag, kissed me on the forehead, and left. Just like that. I remember standing there in the kitchen, numb, not knowing what to feel. I didn't know if I should cry or scream or beg him to stay. But I did nothing, because deep down, I knew that asking him to stay would have been asking him to be someone he wasn't. So, I let him go. The heartbreak was something I never truly recovered from. I spent weeks and days wondering what went wrong, where I had failed, and why I wasn't enough for him. I cut ties with Jake, and as the months passed, I buried myself in my work. The library became my sanctuary, the place where I could forget about the ache in my chest, where I could hide behind my books and routines. I didn't date after Jake. I couldn't bring myself to trust anyone. The walls I built around myself were tall, thick, and unyielding. I convinced myself that I didn't need anyone. I didn't need love. I didn't need anyone to stay, because everyone always left, didn't they? The library, where I worked every day, had become a safe haven, a place where I could hide from the world. I knew its quiet corners, its creaking floors, and the smell of aged paper better than I knew myself. The library was my world, and it was a world that didn't demand anything of me. It was steady, it was predictable, and that's exactly what I needed. But even in the quietest of places, I could feel the weight of my own loneliness. I longed for something, but I didn't know what it was. Every night, I would sit in my tiny apartment, the silence stretching around me, and feel the emptiness gnaw at my insides. I had convinced myself that I was content, that I didn't need anyone. But deep down, I knew it wasn't true. I used to think that maybe, just maybe, someone would come along and prove me wrong, that someone would show me that love didn't always have to hurt, that it didn't always have to end. But with every passing year, I pushed that hope aside, locking it away with the rest of my unspoken desires. I told myself I didn't need anyone to stay, but I never truly believed it. The quiet of the library days passed in predictable silence. I greeted the same regulars: Mr. Harper, the elderly man who checked out the same mystery novel every week, and Maria, the young girl who always returned her books late, but never failed to bring me a smile. It was a comfortable, predictable rhythm, one that I had grown accustomed to. Then, one Thursday afternoon, everything changed. The doorbell to the library jingled as someone walked in, and for the first time in a long while, my heart skipped a beat. "Hello? Is this the library?" A voice, deep and warm, broke the silence. I looked up from my desk, expecting another regular, but when my eyes met his, I froze. There he stood, framed in the doorway. Ryan Mitchell. My mind raced. Ryan Mitchell? The Ryan Mitchell? The boy I had known growing up in town? I hadn't seen him in over 10 years. He had left the town shortly after high school, chasing bigger dreams. He was supposed to be someone else now, a different person with a different life. But there he was, standing in front of me, just like he had been years ago. "Chloe, right?" Ryan asked, his smile soft and warm, though there was a familiarity about it that made my heart race. My voice caught in my throat. But I nodded. "Ryan Mitchell, right?" "Yeah, it's been a long time," he said, stepping inside, his eyes scanning the room as if trying to soak in the memories. "I didn't think I'd be back here, but I'm working with my family's business now, and I wanted to check out some books on local history." I blinked, trying to gather my thoughts. "Sure," I said, forcing a smile. "I can show you where the history section is." As we walked through the aisles together, I couldn't help but notice how much he had changed. He was taller, his jawline sharper, his confidence evident in the way he carried himself. It was clear that Ryan had moved on from the town and from me. But as we exchanged a few more words, I realized something: Ryan had never stopped caring. His eyes held the same warmth they once did. It was as if the years had melted away, leaving behind a sense of something unspoken, something that I had buried, something I hadn't been ready to confront until now. "You've changed," I said, almost to myself, as we stopped at the shelves. "You're not the same person I knew." Ryan smiled softly, the same smile I remembered so well. "Time changes people, Chloe. Life changes us. But some things ... they stay the same." And in that moment, I realized something I hadn't admitted in years. My heart had never truly let go of him. The days following Ryan's unexpected return felt like they were moving in slow motion, each one stretching out as if time itself was reluctant to let me go. After our brief encounter at the library, I found myself replaying the moment over and over again in my mind. His smile, his familiar voice, the way he looked at me with that same warmth, as though nothing had changed between us. But so much had changed. I had spent the better part of a decade building walls around myself, walls that I thought were impenetrable. I had convinced myself that I was fine living alone, that I didn't need anyone to stay. My heart had been shattered before, and I had no intention of letting anyone do that again. But the more I saw Ryan, the more those walls I had carefully constructed began to feel less like protection and more like a prison that had been holding me back from living, from feeling, from truly being open to what life had to offer. Every time Ryan came into the library, it felt like a quiet storm. He would come in, always polite, always friendly, and ask me about the local history section or books he could recommend to his clients. He'd stay just a little longer than necessary, and we'd talk, sometimes about the town, sometimes about our lives. He was a different person, now more self-assured, more confident, but underneath all of that, there was a hint of the same boy I had known years ago. The boy who had made me laugh until I couldn't breathe. The boy who had been my closest friend. The boy who had been my first love. But the thing was, he didn't seem to want to just reminisce. It wasn't just the past he was interested in. He wanted to know about me. It was like he was trying to find the girl he had known all those years ago. And, in the process, wanted to see who I had become. One evening, after the library had closed, I was sitting at my desk, reviewing a book order, when I heard the sound of footsteps in the hallway. It was late, and I didn't expect anyone. I looked up, and there he was, Ryan, standing in the doorway, hesitating before stepping inside. "Chloe, I was hoping to catch you before you left," he said, his voice low but with a soft urgency to it. I stood up, unsure of what he needed. "Ryan, is everything okay?" He smiled, though there was something deeper in his eyes. Something I hadn't noticed before, a kind of longing. "I wanted to apologize," he said quietly. "I know it's been a while, but I never properly thanked you for all the support you gave me back then. I've been thinking a lot about it, about us, and I realized I owe you an apology." I blinked, taken aback by his sudden seriousness. Apology for what? For disappearing? For not being the friend I should have been? You were always there for me. And I wasn't there for you when you needed me the most. "I'm sorry for that, Chloe." The words hit me harder than I expected. I hadn't thought about those moments, the long nights where I waited for him to come home, the unanswered texts, the silence that grew between us. But now, hearing him say it, the years of unspoken hurt bubbled up to the surface. My throat tightened, but I tried to keep my composure. "I don't know if an apology changes anything, Ryan," I said, my voice steady, though I could feel the sting of the old wounds. "You made your choice, and I had to live with it. We both had to move on." Ryan nodded slowly, his eyes never leaving mine. "I know, and I respect that. But I need to tell you this, coming back here, seeing you again, has made me realize how much I've missed, how much I regret not being there for you. I can't change the past, but I'm here now, and I want to try to make things right." I could feel the heat rising in my chest, a mixture of emotions I couldn't quite sort through. On one hand, his words felt like a balm on old scars. On the other, they made me feel exposed, vulnerable in a way I wasn't sure I was ready for. "Ryan," I whispered, my breath catching. "It's been so long. I don't know what you want from me anymore. I don't even know what I want." His voice softened. "I don't expect anything from you, Chloe. I don't even know what this is. But I want to try. I want to get to know you again. To see if maybe ... maybe we can still have something, even after everything." I looked at him, my mind racing, trying to process the years of emotions and regrets flooding my thoughts. I had spent so long telling myself that I didn't need anyone, That I was fine on my own. And yet, here Ryan was, breaking down the walls I had built around my heart, making me wonder if maybe, just maybe, I could open up again. You're asking a lot, I said softly. You're asking me to risk everything again. Ryan stepped closer, his presence so familiar yet so new. I'm not asking you to forget the past. I'm asking you to give me a chance to show you that I'm here to stay. I've been running from the truth for too long, and now I'm ready to face it. I closed my eyes, trying to find some kind of peace in the whirlwind of thoughts and feelings tumbling inside me. I had spent years convincing myself that love was a fairy tale, that no one could ever stay. But Ryan, in his quiet sincerity, had made me wonder if I had been wrong all along. I'm scared, I whispered. I'm scared of letting anyone in again. Ryan's hand gently brushed mine, and the touch sent a jolt of warmth through me. I'm scared too, he admitted, softly. But maybe the first step is just being honest. I'm not asking for everything right now. I'm asking for a chance. For a long moment I stood there, feeling the weight of his words settle deep inside me. I could feel my heart tugging, wanting to believe him, wanting to believe that maybe, this time, it could be different. Finally, I looked up at him, my voice barely a whisper. Okay, a chance. That's all I'm offering right now. Ryan's face broke into a soft smile, his eyes shining with relief. That's all I'm asking for. As we stood there in the quiet of the library, I realized something. The walls I had built, the barriers I had set up to protect myself, were starting to crumble. And for the first time in a long time, I felt a spark of hope, a quiet belief that maybe, just maybe, there was a second chance for me after all. The days following our conversation felt like a whirlwind, with each one pulling me further into the reality of what Ryan and I were becoming. I had always kept a tight grip on my life, my emotions, but now I was beginning to let go just a little. Every time Ryan visited the library, every time our hands brushed accidentally as we passed a book or stood close to one another, I felt my walls slowly crumbling, piece by piece. But the fear still lingered, buried deep inside me, reminding me of how easily everything could fall apart. I tried to convince myself I was just being cautious, that I was simply taking things slow. After all, Ryan was asking for nothing more than a chance. But my heart had been scarred before, and even now, as I allowed myself to enjoy his company, the familiar ache of fear kept whispering to me, don't let him in. Don't make the same mistake again. But Ryan, with his patience and quiet strength, was unlike anyone I had ever known. He didn't rush me. He didn't push for anything more than I was ready for. He was simply there with a steady presence, a reassuring smile, and the kind of honesty I hadn't realized I needed until he showed it to me. It was a Tuesday when I realized just how far we had come. I had been working late, as usual, organizing a new set of donations that had come in. The sun had already set, and the library was quiet except for the occasional shuffle of paper and the soft hum of the air conditioning. I didn't hear the door open at first, but I felt the sudden shift in the room when I looked up. Ryan was standing in the doorway, his jacket draped over one shoulder, a soft smile tugging at his lips. Chloe, he said softly, his voice warm like the sun setting. On a cool evening. I hope I'm not interrupting. I smiled, my heart skipping in that familiar way it always did when I saw him. No, not at all. I'm just wrapping up here. He stepped inside, his eyes scanning the room. I thought I'd stop by to see how you were doing. I know you've been busy. I have, I admitted, pushing the pile of books aside. But it's been good. I like having something to focus on. Keeps me keeps me from thinking too much. Ryan's smile faded a little, the knowing look crossing his face. You don't have to keep everything to yourself, you know. I stiffened. The walls I had worked so hard to build flaring up again. I had spent years convincing myself that I didn't need anyone. But here was Ryan, so effortlessly breaking through those barriers. "I'm not keeping things to myself," I said quickly, though I knew he could see right through me. He walked over to where I was sitting, his presence filling the room with a gentle force that I could no longer ignore. "Chloe, you're allowed to let someone in. You don't have to do everything on your own." His words hung in the air between us, and I felt the familiar sting of vulnerability rise in my chest. For the first time, I realized just how much I had shut out the possibility of truly connecting with someone. How had I let myself get to this place? Why had I closed myself off so completely? "I don't know if I can do that," I whispered, almost to myself. "I don't know if I can let anyone in again." Ryan knelt down in front of me, looking up at me with that same gentle expression I had come to trust. "You don't have to be perfect, Chloe. You don't have to have it all figured out. I'm not asking you to be anyone other than who you are right now. I'm just asking for a chance to show you that I'm here. And I'm staying." There was a quiet intensity in his voice, one that left no room for doubt. He meant every word. For the first time in years, I let myself believe him. "Why, Ryan?" I asked, my voice thick with emotion. "Why are you still here? Why did you come back?" He smiled softly, his eyes meeting mine with a tenderness I hadn't expected. "Because I couldn't stay away, Chloe. Because I realized that I've always cared about you. And I've spent too much time running from what's been right in front of me. You." I felt my heart race, every word settling deep inside me, pushing away the walls I had spent so long building. "But I don't know if I'm ready," I whispered, the words leaving my lips with more uncertainty than I had anticipated. Ryan's gaze softened. "You don't have to be ready. Not right now. I'm not asking you to have all the answers. I'm just asking you to take a step. One step, Chloe, with me." The air in the room seemed to shift, the silence between us heavy with everything we had both left unsaid. And for the first time in a long time, I felt something stir inside me. A hope, a flicker of something new. I wasn't sure what it was, or where it would lead, but I knew one thing for sure. Ryan wasn't just a part of my past. He was here now, and I couldn't deny the pull I still felt toward him. "I don't want to be alone anymore, Ryan," I said quietly, my voice barely above a whisper. "But I'm scared." He reached out, taking my hand in his. His touch was warm, reassuring, and it felt like the most natural thing in the world. "You don't have to be alone. Not anymore. And you don't have to be scared. I'm here, Chloe, and I'm staying." For the first time in a long time, I felt like I was ready to take a chance, to let go of the past, to stop hiding behind walls I had built for safety, and to open myself to the possibility of something real, of something that might last. The next few weeks felt like a blur. Ryan and I spent more and more time together: coffee, dates, walks around the town, quiet moments at the library. He was patient with me, never rushing, never pushing. He allowed me to take things at my own pace, and little by little, I felt myself opening up to him. I still had doubts. The fear of getting hurt again lingered in the back of my mind. But with each conversation, each shared laugh, each moment of quiet understanding between us, I realized that maybe, just maybe, I didn't need to be afraid anymore. Ryan had stayed when I never thought anyone would. He had come back into my life not to fix things, but to show me that love wasn't about perfection or promises. It was about being there for each other, day by day, and choosing to stay. I wasn't ready to call it love yet. But what I did know was this: Ryan was the first person in a long time who had chosen to stay. and for the first time in years, I was ready to stay too. Ryan stayed. And by staying, he gave me something I hadn't realized I had been missing: hope. A hope that maybe love didn't have to be fleeting, that maybe I could trust again, and that with the right person. Staying wasn't a risk, it was a promise, and, just like that, the walls I had spent so long building came down, not because I was ready to let go, but because he was willing to wait until I was. And in the end, that was enough.